A date? You, Ethan? Seriously? We were sitting in a high-end restaurant. My date hadn't arrived yet. Across from me was Nathan, the owner of the place, and one of my best friends. He stared at me in disbelief. Who are you dating? The granddaughter of my grandfather's old war buddy, I said with a shrug, swirling the ice in my whiskey glass. It was his dying wish that I meet her, even if it doesn't go anywhere. Nathan nodded slowly, then hesitated. He leaned in a little, lowering his voice. What about Marilyn Roosevelt? You were crazy about her. For years together. You're really ready to walk away from all that? I tipped back a sip of whiskey and let out a quiet chuckle. She gave me $40 million when she broke up with me. I felt relieved. Nathan winced. Well, that's the most decency she's ever shown. He let out a frustrated grunt, shaking his head, but then paused, a strange look crossing his face. He rubbed his nose like he wasn't sure how to continue. Ethan, man. I'm sorry. I didn't bring back your stuff from Marilyn's place. I blinked. What do you mean, you didn't bring it back? After the breakup, I'd left Manhattan to handle my grandfather's funeral down in the countryside. Just got back yesterday. Nathan had offered to pick up my things so I wouldn't have to deal with Marilyn in person, seemed like the decent thing to do, given the circumstances. Nathan rubbed his forehead like he was reliving a bad dream. She freaked me out. I went over there yesterday, thinking she'd be at work. Turns out, she was home. Just, sitting on the couch. Didn't say a word. Just stared at me like she could see through my damn soul. I was packing your stuff as fast as I could, and just as I grabbed the suitcase to leave, she says, dead calm, nice hands you've got, Nathan. Why not chop it off? I damn near pissed myself. Yeah, that did sound like something Marilyn Roosevelt would say. The Roosevelts basically owned Manhattan's Upper East Side. If Marilyn said she wanted someone's hand chopped off, chances are, someone would hand her the knife. But this? This wasn't like her. Our breakup was clean, even graceful. We settled everything. No drama. So why the hell didn't she return my stuff? Nathan looked at me and said quietly. She didn't look like someone who wanted to break up with you. I shook my head. That's impossible. Everyone in our circle knew the story between me and Marilyn. Years ago, her first love, Callum, had crushed her heart. The guy turned down her feelings, ran off overseas chasing some dream, and didn't even say goodbye. Marilyn was a wreck for a long time after that. There wasn't much I could do, except stay. Be there. Sit with her through the silences, pick up the pieces she didn't want to admit were broken. I never expected anything in return. But then, 4 years ago, Christmas morning, I handed her a glass of warm honey water like I always did when she was hungover. She looked at me, eyes a little puffy, and asked out of nowhere, Ethan, do you like me? I went red in the face, stumbling over my words. I mean, yeah. But don't worry, I wasn't trying to. Let's be together, she said. Just like that. One sentence. 4 years. I became the stand-in for Callum. The one who stayed. The one who loved her completely and without condition. She was never warm, not really. But she acknowledged me, publicly. Called me her boyfriend. That alone felt like enough. Everyone jokes that I'm the most successful substitute in history. Maybe. I really thought we'd grow old together. But on the day of our 4th anniversary, Callum came back. And all it took was 1 sentence, Marilyn, I've missed you, for her to follow him straight to the airport. That day, I was at home, setting up the place, candles, lights, the whole deal. I was planning to propose to Marilyn. But she never showed. Instead, I got a wire transfer, $40 million. Breakup compensation. She reconciled with her first love. She couldn't wait for me to get out of here. I forced a smile, tried to make it sound like a joke. At this point, all I want is to go the rest of my life without running into either of them again. Nathan nodded in sympathy. I get it. Everyone knows the history between you two. Running into them now? That'd be a disaster. My eyes narrowed slightly. Over Nathan's shoulder, I caught a glimpse of someone stepping into the restaurant. Marilyn. She paused at the entrance for half a second, then started walking straight toward us. I exhaled, Nathan, what you said came true. I chose Nathan's restaurant for our date for 3 reasons. 1, it was close to my restaurant. 2, it was near where the woman I was meeting lived. And 3, Nathan and his wife had built this restaurant from scratch. They didn't run in Marilyn's Upper East Side social circle. In other words, this was supposed to be neutral ground. Low risk. Yeah, how the hell could we have seen this coming? Nathan muttered with a weak smile, voice trailing off like he didn't believe his own words. By then, Marilyn had already reached our table. She didn't say a word. Just raised an eyebrow at Nathan, barely even a gesture. And like someone had grabbed him by the back of the neck, he bolted. Abandoned me without a second thought. Damn. A grown man, running scared like that? Was Marilyn really that terrifying? I raised an eyebrow, poured myself another whiskey, and gave Marilyn, now seated across from me, a calm, cordial smile. Miss Roosevelt, I said evenly, want a drink? It had been more than 10 days since the breakup. And honestly, seeing her again. I was surprised by how steady I felt. Marilyn didn't move. Her sharp, elegant eyes locked on me like a sniper's scope. She had the kind of face that turned heads, delicate, symmetrical, almost too perfect. But when she wasn't speaking, the air around her practically pulsed with tension. That's well for you. It wraps itself around people like armor. I tightened my grip on the glass, kept my smile intact. After about 30 seconds of silence, Marilyn finally smirked. She arched a brow and picked up the whiskey I'd offered. She held it in her hand, but didn't drink. Her gaze stayed locked on mine, searching for something. When did you get back? Yesterday, I replied lightly. Unlike you, I have a small business to run. Can't disappear for too long. She gave a small nod, her expression softening just a little. You came here to see Nathan? I opened my mouth to respond. But before I could get a word out, a stunning woman in a white chiffon blouse and a sleek black skirt walked up to our table. Striking. The kind of cool beauty that turns time into molasses. She glanced between me and Marilyn, clear eyes flickering with hesitation. Then she spoke, her voice soft as spring water. Ethan? I looked up and answered, yeah. You must be Bonnie. Bonnie Winthrop nodded, then turned toward Marilyn with a polite smile. Did I misremember the time? Or, did you have more than one appointment scheduled tonight? The moment the words left her lips, I saw Marilyn's face shift. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes narrowed. You're here on a date? She asked, voice suddenly cold. Yeah, I'm here for a date. I gave a polite smile. So I suppose I won't be walking Miss Roosevelt out? Marilyn glanced at me, her brows knitting even tighter. But she didn't move. Instead, her gaze shifted to Bonnie Winthrop, and something unreadable flickered behind her eyes. Dark. Unsettling. Miss Roosevelt? I lowered my voice, repeating the not-so-subtle invitation to leave. Staring down my guest like that? It was beyond rude. What's the rush? Marilyn asked, her eyes locked onto mine, a shadow curling behind her lashes. Then she gave a crooked smile and let out a soft scoff. After all, she said, voice sharp and casual all at once, we did share a bed for 4 years. Don't you think I've earned the right to screen your next girl? My fist clenched under the table. Marilyn, how many more ways are you planning to twist the knife? That won't be necessary, I said with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. My grandfather picked her out. And his judgment was always spot on. Marilyn narrowed her eyes, watching me closely. Not speaking. Just staring, like she was trying to read something written between my bones. Then. A ringtone shattered the silence like a crack in glass. Marilyn frowned and pulled out her phone. The moment she glanced at the screen, her entire expression softened. Marilyn, you're not here yet? A deep, velvety voice filtered through the speaker. Clear enough that even I could hear. Callum. Her gaze swept across my face, her eyes darkening. I'm here. Downstairs. Yeah, ran into a friend. Just catching up a bit. I'm coming up now. A friend. A few words of greeting. That's what we were now. I smiled faintly. My fist ached, nails digging into my palm so hard the pain shot up through my chest. Marilyn hung up, stood with practiced grace, and smoothed the front of her dress. Well, I'll leave you two to it, she said lightly. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I watched her walk toward the stairs, her heels tapping across the hardwood. Something inside me pulled tight. Then Bonnie Winthrop sat down across from me with effortless calm, her delicate brows lifting in a gentle smile. So, Mr. Ethan, she said, does that mean it's finally my turn? My emotions were still rattling from Marilyn's exit when Bonnie Winthrop's voice pulled me back to the present. You still want to continue with the date? I asked, surprised. Bonnie tilted her head, one perfectly shaped brow lifting ever so slightly. Her red lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Why wouldn't I? She said it like she was stating the weather. Calm. Direct. First off, she continued, I'm perfectly capable of recognizing what just happened. And frankly, I don't think you did anything wrong. Second, I have a functional set of values. I don't care whether or not a man's had a past with someone. Third, and this one's important, even if this weren't a date, I still have other business with you, Mr. Ethan. For a second, I just stared at her, not quite registering what I'd heard. Business? I echoed, stunned. You mean, you need me to take responsibility for something? What the hell? Bonnie Winthrop, daughter of a high-profile family, sitting across from me saying that? What exactly was I supposed to be responsible for? I don't even know this woman. Bonnie pressed her lips together, her expression unreadable. Then she said, casually. I have a dog. He eats barbecue. My brain froze. What? Without another word, Bonnie pulled out her phone and placed it gently on the table in front of me. I leaned in, confused. And froze as the screen lit up with a grainy surveillance video, the kind you get from a street lamp cam. The timestamp? The night Marilyn and I broke up. There it was. The check, $40 million, lying abandoned on the sidewalk like some sick joke. And me. Drunk off my ass. Clutching a bottle of red wine. Sitting on the curb outside the restaurant, crying like my whole world had collapsed. Next to me, calmly stealing food from the takeout box I dropped on the ground, was a golden retriever. I see your dog tag. Why are you still out here, huh? You got abandoned too, didn't you? Yeah, me too, buddy. Don't eat that, it's cold. Look at that place, see it? I own that restaurant. Same time tomorrow, alright? You show up, I'll treat you right every damn day. In the video, I was so drunk I was yanking gently on the poor dog's ear, rambling like a madman. Outside the video, I wanted to die. Right there at the table. Crawl under the floorboards and disappear. Bonnie locked her phone and looked back up at me, eyes quiet but steady. Our dog, Cola, really did show up the next night, she said. Waited outside your restaurant all night. But, Mr. Ethan, you never came. And just like that, everything clicked. I hadn't forgotten. I'd gotten a call that morning, my grandfather had taken a turn for the worse. I'd left Manhattan without a second thought. Bonnie studied my face for a beat, then added softly. Ever since that night, Cola's been different. He's been lying around the house, totally depressed. I think you broke his heart. I gave a weak laugh. I had driven a dog into an emotional breakdown. That was a hell of a thing to carry. I'll fix it. Seriously, I said, hands raised in surrender. Let's go buy barbecue. The best cuts. And the finest dog food money can buy. I owe Cola a proper apology. Bonnie gave a skeptical purse of her lips, then pulled up her social media profile and turned her phone toward me. Point made. Apparently, I didn't rank too high on her trust scale. I scrambled to pull out my phone and add her back. Her profile picture was that same goofy golden retriever, big paws, tongue out, eyes too honest for this world. I groaned and covered my face with a hand. Miss Winthrop, I swear, I'll make this right. Bonnie didn't exactly smile, but her lips twitched like she was mildly amused. We'll see. Let's go. I jumped up to follow her. But I'd barely taken one step when the sharp click of heels echoed from the second floor. Almost instinctively, I looked up. Marilyn stood at the top of the stairs, staring at me with a dark, unreadable look. Behind her stood a group of rich princesses like her, with deliberate contempt always engraved in their bones. They'd never liked me. For years with Marilyn hadn't changed that. I was just about to turn and walk out when someone else descended the stairs behind them. Tall. Slim. Perfectly tailored black suit. Air of effortless refinement. Callum. I stiffened. In the restaurant, Nathan's expression collapsed into panic. He shot me a frantic look and mouthed, I didn't know. I swear. But Callum seemed genuinely thrilled to see me. Like the last 4 years hadn't happened. Ethan. Man, what are the odds, he said brightly. Been a while. I offered a tight smile. Haven't seen you for a long time. He gestured toward the group behind him with mock helplessness. I just got back to the States. Marilyn and her friends insisted on throwing me a welcome party here. I didn't even want one. He gave a theatrical shrug. Then she told me she wanted me to open a new restaurant down the street. So I thought, why not stop by and check out this place? Then he turned, wrapped an arm around Marilyn's waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. Looked back at me. You're in the restaurant business too, right? Guess we're gonna be neighbors. Come by sometime. Help me brainstorm. I stared at him, lips frozen in a smile, but my gaze cut back to Marilyn. He's opening a restaurant here. On this street. And from the look in her eyes. She wanted me to know. Competition in the same industry? That I could handle. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't have blinked. But Callum? Callum, whose family empire was worth over $10 billion. What the hell was he doing opening a restaurant? Once upon a time, my family was one of the wealthy families on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Real estate, art, private clubs, you name it. But my parents died young. And fast. I was just a dumb kid back then. Knew nothing about business, nothing about sharks in suits. By the time I figured out which way was up, the shareholders and so-called relatives had carved up everything. Picked the estate clean like vultures at a carcass. All I had left was a failing little restaurant on the edge of bankruptcy. I clawed my way up from there. Bled for that place. Worked every station, burned every candle, survived on caffeine and grit. And Marilyn? She saw it all. Every damn second. She knew what it took for me to keep that restaurant alive. So don't tell me she didn't understand exactly what it would mean for Callum to open a place on this street. Her eyes slid over me and landed briefly on Bonnie. She held my gaze for a beat before saying, cool as a glacier. Don't be so petty. Helping Callum could be good for you. Oh, good for me? Right. Like handing your ex-girlfriend back to her ex-boyfriend after he got bored with chasing dreams and decided she was convenient again. Now he wants to muscle in on my turf, and I'm supposed to smile and offer business advice? The audacity. Ethan, come on, Callum said warmly, like we were old friends sharing beers at a college reunion. Seriously. I'd love your input. I turned, lips parting with a sharp retort on the tip of my tongue. But before I could say a word. He's busy, said a clear voice beside me. Bonnie. Everyone turned to look at her. She didn't flinch. Her expression stayed calm, poised, the perfect balance of elegance and charm. She gave Marilyn a small, almost too polite smile. He's coming to my place. Then she tilted her head toward me and stuck out her tongue, playful and sweet. You did say you'd take responsibility, right? She said. Ready to go? Take responsibility. The way she said it, light as air, sharp as a blade, carried a weight far heavier than it seemed. I shot Bonnie a look, half grateful, half stunned, and offered a lopsided smile. Let's go. But before we could take another step, Marilyn's voice cut through the air, dripping with contempt. Going home with a girl you just met? Ethan, have you no shame? The entire room seemed to freeze. Heads turned. A hush fell. I clenched my jaw, heat rising fast through my chest. I turned to her, my voice low and hard. You're clinging to your new boyfriend while lecturing your ex? Marilyn, do you have any shame? Seriously, she could open a restaurant with Callum, wrap herself around his arm like it meant nothing, but she still thought she had the right to question me? Where I went? Who I went with? Bonnie, already at the door, paused and turned back. With a smile that looked almost sweet, except for the razor behind it, she glanced at Marilyn and raised a brow. Just to clarify, Miss Roosevelt, she said with mock innocence, Ethan and I didn't just meet. Oh no, we go way back. Deep history. There was an audible pause in the room. Marilyn stiffened. Bonnie, cool as ever, turned back toward me and looped her arm through mine. Her perfume drifted up between us, soft and hypnotic, like jasmine under moonlight. As she tugged me gently toward the exit, her touch sent an odd tingle down my side. Half of me went numb. The other half? Still trying to process whatever game she was playing. Because her words back there? Twisted as they were. They weren't exactly a lie. Cola really had taken it hard. The poor dog lay on the balcony like he'd aged 10 years overnight, staring out at the city like some war veteran who'd seen too much. Cola? Buddy, I messed up. I know I messed up, I said, kneeling on the hardwood with a bowl of premium dog food in my hands, my voice full of shame. This is the good stuff, okay? Come on, just try one bite. Please. Bonnie was sitting on the couch behind me, silent. I had this creeping feeling she was laughing at me. But every time I turned my head to check, she wasn't. Her face was unreadable, calm, observant, maybe even a little curious. But no smirk. By the time Cola finally forgave me enough to let me pet him, and even play a little, it was already dark outside. I'm hungry, Bonnie said out of nowhere. Can you cook? I blinked, then nodded. Yeah. Marilyn had always been particular about food. Sensitive stomach, sensitive taste. After we got together, I ended up doing all the cooking. For years of that, and my kitchen skills were nothing to sneeze at. Bonnie got up, crossed the room, and knelt on the carpet beside Cola, wrapping her arms around him. Then make me dinner, she said simply. Like it was already settled. I mean, she didn't even give me the chance to say no, and honestly, after everything she'd put up with today, I wasn't about to protest. So I rolled up my sleeves and headed into the kitchen. Cooked up 2 solid dishes. Comfort food, but elevated. I just set the plates down on the table when my phone exploded in my pocket, so loud it made me nearly drop the dish. Heart racing, I fumbled to place the plate down and pulled out my phone. Didn't even check the caller ID before I answered. Hello? You still haven't picked up your stuff, came a cold voice on the other end. Come get it. Now. I froze. Pulled the phone away to glance at the screen. Marilyn. She was calling, at night, about my things? It's late, I said cautiously. I'll send someone over tomorrow. There was a pause. Then the sound of shallow breathing, like she was trying to steady herself. And then her voice returned, low, icy, and precise. No. It has to be tonight. I stared at my phone, completely thrown. Then I took a slow, deep breath and said calmly, then throw it away, Marilyn. The only reason I'd even considered retrieving the stuff was because some of it had belonged to my grandfather. He'd given me a lot of those things. Watches, old books, little knickknacks he'd insisted were useful someday. But if keeping that connection meant getting dragged back into Marilyn's drama? Then no. I'd rather lose it all. The dead don't need heirlooms. And I'd done right by him when he was alive. That was enough. I had peace in my heart. What's meant to stay, stays. What's not, let it go. I sighed and was about to end the call, when a soft gasp came from behind me. Ow. Bonnie's voice. She was getting up from the carpet and winced as she rose. I rushed over and caught her arm before she could stumble. You were kneeling too long, I said, concerned. Look at your knees, they're red. Bonnie shot me an annoyed look. How was I supposed to know you'd take that long? Then. A loud bang echoed from the front door. And through the phone. Simultaneously. My blood ran cold. From the other end, Marilyn's voice sliced through like ice on bare skin. Ethan, she hissed, teeth clenched, are you coming out on your own, or should I kick this damn door down and drag you out? My eyes widened in disbelief. She was here? At the door? And the line hadn't even dropped. Her voice stayed cool, precise, and terrifying. 3. 2. I felt my fingers curl into fists, my lungs tightening as I struggled to stay calm. I breathed in. Out. And said through clenched teeth, I'm coming. Knowing Marilyn the way I did. Yeah. She would absolutely break the door down. But I wasn't the one who opened the door. Bonnie beat me to it. She stepped in front of me like a shield, pulled the door open, and stood squarely in the doorway. Her expression was cool, even a little smug, as she locked eyes with Marilyn. Miss Roosevelt, she said, her voice light but unmistakably taunting. Can I help you with something? Marilyn's face was thundercloud dark, her fists clenched tight at her sides. But she didn't answer Bonnie. Her eyes cut straight past her, landing on me like twin lasers laced with fury. You've got 5 hours to sit around her place, but not 5 minutes to pick up your own things? I let out a breath, somewhere between a scoff and a sigh. Ms. Marilyn, there's no tomorrow? Is it really just one night away? Marilyn didn't flinch. Her voice stayed maddeningly calm. Callum's staying at my place tonight. She said it so casually, so calculated. I don't want him seeing your things, she went on. Wouldn't want him to feel uncomfortable. Then she added, also, I don't want you pulling some stunt later, claiming I kept your stuff and using it as an excuse to stay in my life. So let's get it over with. Clean break. I felt something tear inside me. Not loud. Just, quiet. Cold. Steady. A wound that hadn't finished healing now bleeding again. My hand gripped the doorknob tight. My jaw locked. Then I gave a bitter little laugh and nodded. Fine. I'll get it now. It was the first time I'd ever ridden in Marilyn's car without feeling the need to speak. I leaned my head back against the seat, eyes closed, letting the silence stretch. No tension. No words. Just done. Then, unexpectedly, Marilyn broke the quiet. You like her? I opened my eyes, frowning. Met her gaze in the rearview mirror. She was watching me, soft-eyed, unreadable. I held her gaze for 3 seconds, then nodded. Yeah. She's pretty great. Marilyn didn't answer at first. Just repeated my words quietly, like she was chewing on them. Pretty great. Then she gave a dry laugh. You've been doing just fine these past 10 days, haven't you? I thought maybe you'd. I raised an eyebrow. Maybe I'd what? She paused. Smiled faintly. Nothing, she murmured, eyes flicking back to the road. And just like that, the silence returned. Only now, it felt heavier than before. Everything had already been packed. Nathan had handled it for me. 2 large suitcases now stood neatly beside the dining table in the living room. He'd even zipped them up like I was headed off to vacation instead of reclaiming the last traces of a 4-year relationship. Marilyn was sitting at the table, glass in hand, sipping water like she had all the time in the world. She didn't say a word, just watched me. Fine by me. The less said, the better. Every second I spent in this familiar yet hollow place felt like twisting a knife in my own chest. I grabbed the handles of the suitcases and turned to leave. That's when her hand snapped around my wrist. Ethan, she said, her voice smooth, unaffected, didn't you used to love me like your life depended on it? I turned. She was staring at me, calm as ever, eyes proud, still looking down on me even while seated. It's only been, what, a couple of weeks, she continued. And you've already moved on from us? Already sleeping in someone else's bed like it means nothing? You actually believe that? The anger surged instantly. The mockery in her voice, the way she treated my pain like a game, it burned far worse than the check she'd handed me on breakup day. She knew what she meant to me. Knew what I gave her. 4 years of loyalty, patience, sacrifice. And now she thought that because I once loved her, she had the right to humiliate me? I yanked my arm free. My voice was ice. Does it matter whether I've moved on or not? What matters is that I've done exactly what a decent ex should do, leave and never look back. Which makes me wonder, Marilyn, what the hell are you doing? I met her gaze, sharp and unwavering. First time I've heard of a woman paying off a man and still handling the post-breakup maintenance. You're doing aftercare now. Or maybe, I paused, letting the silence cut deep. Maybe you're just realizing it wasn't so easy to throw me away. Marilyn didn't flinch. But something shifted in her expression, a flicker of something I hadn't seen before. Vulnerability? Doubt? Regret? 3 seconds of silence. Then. What if I said you were right? My spine went stiff. I blinked, almost wondering if I'd imagined it. But no, Marilyn rose from her chair slowly, deliberately, and stepped into my space. Her arms slipped around my waist as if this were still her right. She rested her cheek against my chest and sighed. If this was your game, Ethan, she murmured, congratulations. You won. Come back. Stay with me. Then, just like that, she lifted her chin, and kissed me. Soft. Familiar. Dangerous. You didn't miss me, she whispered against my lips. Because I think I might have missed you. Marilyn's body pressed against mine, soft, warm, familiar. Her eyes fluttered up at me, sultry and full of something that could almost be mistaken for tenderness. The air between us was thick with heat, the kind that could blur lines, rewrite memories, trick you into believing in things you swore you'd buried. But I wasn't feeling any of that. All I could think about was the very real, very breathing man who was supposedly spending the night at her place. Wait, what about Callum? I asked, my voice sharp, cutting through the fog she was trying to pull me into. Marilyn's lashes lowered half an inch. Her smile curved slowly, confidently. I'll get you a separate place. Somewhere nice. He won't know. I want both of you. That did it. Something inside me snapped so hard it echoed in my skull. I shoved her away from me, harder than I meant to. Just short of something I'd regret. Are you out of your damn mind? I growled. You really think I'd be okay with being your side guy? Her confidence. Her nerve. The audacity. Did she ever see me as anything other than convenient? What the hell kind of love did I give her that made her think she could offer me a backseat in my own life? Marilyn didn't move. She just stood there, watching me with a cold, curved smile like she was amused by my reaction. Careful, Ethan, she said, voice low, tight with something darker than anger. Everyone plays games. But if you're going to play hard, know the rules. I came to you. I bent first. You get that just once. If you walk out that door tonight. She paused, eyes narrowing. Don't expect to come back. I stared at her. At the girl I once thought I'd marry. At the woman who now stood in front of me with a heart so calculated it chilled my bones. And I laughed. Go back to Callum, Marilyn, I said, voice razor thin. You two deserve each other. In this life, the only way we can meet again is at the crematorium. After that day, I never saw Marilyn again. Not once. Not that I expected to, she was a pampered heiress through and through. After the way I turned her down, the fact that she didn't try to ruin me was a miracle in itself. There was no way she would come back to me. But even if she didn't show up again, Callum's new restaurant sure did. Grand opening. Red carpet. Press coverage. The works. Where is the location? Carefully selected, just one street away from my restaurant. He ran a month-long opening promo, everything 70% off. No intention of making money, just flexing. It wrecked the whole block. Every restaurant on the street felt the heat. Mine included. I held my own, more or less. I still had that $40 million from the breakup, and I wasn't afraid to use it. Dropped money on upgrades, events, better ingredients, hell, I even comped loyal customers' meals for a week. Still, even with all that, I lost about 30% of my regulars to him. Hell of a situation, I muttered one evening, crouched on the sidewalk just outside my restaurant. Hard to stay mad when the guy's treating the whole street like Monopoly. He's got more money than God. What the hell am I gonna do? I reached over and gave Cola's golden head a scratch. The big guy blinked up at me with those round, honest eyes. I sighed. Then I tugged gently on one of his floppy ears and pointed to the printout of our recent revenue numbers in my other hand. All right, Cola. You tell me, besides undercutting prices and cooking better food, what else can we do to stay alive? Cola suddenly perked up, tail thumping, barking twice toward the far end of the street. I looked up. And there she was. Bonnie. Striding toward us in a beige dress and heels, her silhouette striking against the evening sun. She looked like she'd just stepped off the cover of a magazine, tall, poised, effortlessly stunning. Miss Winthrop, I greeted her with a smile. Off early today? Since our first date, we'd grown closer. A lot closer. Mostly thanks to Cola, who now practically lived with me. Bonnie's job as a doctor meant crazy hours, so she'd asked if I could take care of him during the day. Of course, I agreed. Dogs weren't allowed inside the restaurant, so I rigged a little setup by the door, umbrella, water bowl, custom mat. He'd become something of a mascot. The neighborhood loved him. Light day in surgery, Bonnie replied cheerfully, fishing something from her pocket. Here. A little sugar always helps the mood. She handed me a lollipop. I shook my head. Thanks, but no. I'm not much of a sweets guy. Bonnie raised a brow, her lips twitching as she tore open the wrapper. Did I ask? She said, holding the candy up to my mouth. Open. I froze for a second, caught off guard by the directness. Right as I reached out to take it from her. Cola yanked the leash. I lost my balance and stumbled forward. Bonnie gasped and dropped into a crouch to catch me, just in time. Instead of face-planting on the sidewalk, I landed, arms full of her. Perfectly wrapped around her like the punchline to a romantic comedy I hadn't realized I was in. Bonnie's soft body melted into my arms like it belonged there. My heart rate skyrocketed. My face burned. I quickly stepped back, released her like I'd just touched a live wire, and offered a sheepish grin. Thanks for the rescue, Miss Winthrop, I said, trying to sound casual. Pretty sure you just saved this handsome face of mine. Bonnie stood up with me, brushing imaginary dust off her dress. Her expression, however, was interesting. She leaned in close, her lips nearly grazing my ear as she whispered, breath warm and teasing. Your heart was beating so fast, Mr. Ethan. Don't tell me I made it flutter. Since I saved you, maybe you should marry me? Her breath lingered against my skin. The scent of her perfume, subtle, floral, maddening, flooded my senses. My eyes widened. Wait, what? Did I hear that right? Was Bonnie flirting with me? Like, full force, no holds barred flirting? This woman didn't just make a move, she launched a damn campaign. Cola's bark snapped me out of my spiral like a bucket of cold water. I turned to find him postured like a tiny golden security guard, blocking the path of a customer leaving my restaurant, his teeth just barely visible in a warning snarl. Cola. I ran over and grabbed the leash. Buddy, no, they paid, I swear. They're good. Cola growled low in his throat, clearly not convinced. After a few seconds of consideration, he finally stepped aside, reluctantly. I apologized to the customer profusely, walked them to the edge of the sidewalk, and made sure they left with a smile. When I turned back toward the street, there he was. Callum. Striding past the corner with a sour look on his face, jaw clenched, hands deep in his coat pockets. He looked like he'd just walked out of a fight. Weird. I mean, this guy had it all, right? The girlfriend. The money. The shiny new restaurant with lines out the door. So why did he look like someone had shamed him? I stared for half a second, then shook my head. Not my business. I crouched down beside Cola, pulled him into a hug, and let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Thanks, buddy, I murmured into his fur. You saved me again. Because honestly, I had no idea how I was supposed to respond to Bonnie. What I didn't expect was to go viral that night. Me, Bonnie, and Cola were suddenly all the rage on the internet. Turns out, earlier that day, a major influencer with over 10 million followers had been doing a live stream feature on local restaurants, and picked mine. She happened to catch the moment I was crouched on the sidewalk, holding up a sales report and earnestly asking Cola to analyze it. Thought it was funny. Adorable, even. So she turned the camera our way. And kept it there. She caught everything. Me and Bonnie's playful flirtation. Cola is like a doorman at the door. Bonnie feeding me a lollipop like we were in some indie rom-com. Within hours, we were trending on multiple tags. Hashtag the dog runs the place. Hashtag boss shows dog the numbers. Hashtag fearless Dr. Ensha restaurant owner, too cute. Hashtag golden retriever gatekeeper. It was a circus. By the time the phone rang, it was past 2 a.m. I was dead asleep, face buried in my pillow, the kind of sleep where reality barely exists. Groggy and half-dreaming, I reached for my phone without opening my eyes. Hello? I mumbled. Who is this? Silence. I blinked, frowning, still not fully conscious. Hello? Anyone there? If this is a prank call, I swear I'm hanging up in 3. Ethan. The voice was ice. Who gave you the nerve to actually be with her? Marilyn. Her words were quiet, low, seething. Do you want to die? I hung up. No hesitation. Rolled over, pulled the blanket tighter around my shoulders, and let my head sink back into the pillow. Meddling which haunting my dreams, I muttered sleepily. Terrifying. The viral video success was beyond anything I could have imagined. People started showing up at my restaurant in droves, some for the food, most for the dog. And a surprising number for the will they won't they, between me and Bonnie that had apparently captured the internet's collective heart. We became a full-blown destination. Lines down the block every day. After a few days, the 30% of customers that Callum had taken away from me were almost returned tenfold because of Bonnie and Coke. All thanks to a golden retriever with a good ear for numbers and a woman with a killer smile and a lollipop. So I guess it was only a matter of time before he showed up. Callum strolled in just after closing, all smiles, hands in his pockets like we were old pals catching up after a softball game. Congrats, Ethan, he said, all charm. Your place is killing it. I looked up at him, gave a polite smile that didn't reach my eyes. Then cut to the point. Are you here for something, or just for a visit? I didn't offer him a seat. Didn't offer water. Didn't offer anything. It was after hours. I wanted him gone. The smile slipped from his face. The mask dropped. Gone was the easygoing golden boy. What replaced it was cold, entitled, and sharp. Name your price, he said flatly. I blinked. You want to buy my restaurant? Not just the restaurant, Callum said, his tone cool and calculated. I want you gone. From Manhattan. For good. I waved off the waitress clearing tables nearby, signaling she could clock out. Then I turned back to him, my expression unimpressed. Is that so? I said, voice laced with sarcasm. Pretty sure Manhattan's big enough for the both of us. As long as you don't show up on my block, I think we'll do just fine never seeing each other again. Callum gave a dry laugh, eyes narrowing with disdain. Don't get cocky just because Bonnie took pity on you, he sneered. You really think dating her gets you into the Winthrop family? You know who they are, right? How much power and wealth does her family have? She may be going through life right now, but trust me, when she chooses to settle down, they're not going to let a guy who owns a restaurant on 2nd Avenue marry her. So here's my advice, take the money while it's still on the table. Sell the place. Get out before I really decide to crush you. Harsh. Condescending. But, annoyingly, logical. He wasn't wrong. My restaurant was doing well, really well, but in the world of Upper East Side royalty, well, meant nothing. In his world, I was barely a footnote. And when it came to Bonnie, yeah. Maybe he had a point. A guy like me wasn't exactly what you'd expect next to a woman from her background. But what I didn't get, what I still don't get, was why he cared. I shook my head, genuinely baffled. No, Callum, I just don't understand. You two weren't even together when Marilyn and I were together. You chose not to have that. After you came back, I left without saying anything. I didn't fight or rob or offend anyone, why do you have to target me like this? The moment my question landed, a flash of anger flickered across Callum's face. Then he let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Marilyn might be blind to it, but I'm not, he snapped. She still has feelings for you. I'd be an idiot to wait around and let you crawl back into her life. There it was, anger, pride, and something else just beneath the surface. Frustration. Insecurity. Fear, maybe. He straightened his shoulders like he still owned the world, but I could see through it. He looked worn down. Strained. Like someone clinging to control he no longer had. She won't let me touch her, he said, bitter now. She zones out, stares at her phone like she's waiting for someone to call. He let out a dry, angry laugh. The other night, I went to kiss her, and she flinched. You know what she said? Ethan, stop messing around. He spat the words like poison. You? Seriously? What the hell makes you think you're worth anything? I threw her away, and somehow you think you've earned the right to pick up what I left? I don't even know what's wrong with Bonnie. She must be blind, or stupid, to fall for trash like you. A voice cut through the room. Because nothing is as dirty as your mouth. Bonnie. She stood at the entrance, framed by the doorway, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. Both Callum and I turned toward her, stunned. She walked in without hesitation, heels clicking like punctuation, and stepped right in front of me, shielding me with her body. Her back straight, her presence unmistakable. At least Ethan lives honestly, she said. He knows how to love, and how to let go. Unlike some people, who are as thick-skinned as a city wall. They say they don't want it, but still have the nerve to come back and steal it. You didn't go abroad to chase your dreams, she added, voice sharper now. You went because you had no other option. You failed. You got sent packing. I couldn't see her face from behind, but I could see Callum's. He went pale. Completely. Just as I was still reeling from her words, Bonnie turned her head slightly and looked at me with a mischievous smile. Don't worry, she said lightly. My family doesn't talk like that. When we pick a son-in-law, we care about character. She paused. Then jerked her chin toward Cola, who was still lounging like a furry bodyguard by the entrance. So does our dog. I blinked. Wait. Was that still a jab at Callum, or was I also being compared to the dog? It was late by the time we closed up. The neighborhood was quiet, the kind of quiet only deep night could bring, just the rustle of leaves skimming across the pavement. No cars. No voices. Just the soft tap of our footsteps and the rhythmic jingle of Cola's leash as we strolled side by side, heading home. I cleared my throat. Hey, thanks again, Bonnie. For what? She asked without looking up, still watching Cola trot ahead with his tail wagging like he had a mission. For letting me keep borrowing Cola, I said with a half grin. Feels like I'm making him work overtime. Bonnie chuckled, eyes warm. He's grown up. About time he started pulling his weight around here. We both laughed, and for a moment, the world felt simple. Then I hesitated, just a second, but it was enough to remind myself I couldn't let this go unsaid. And, also, I added, rubbing the back of my neck, about the whole internet thing. Us being a couple and all. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I mean, you're a doctor. A woman like you, being dragged into all that attention just because of me and a dog, can't be easy. Bonnie stopped walking. I turned to look at her. Under the street lamp, her eyes sparkled with something unreadable. She stepped closer, real close, and suddenly, her arm looped around the back of my neck. I froze. Then she leaned in, red lips just inches from mine, eyes wide and gleaming. "That's what you wanted to say?" she asked, voice low, teasing. Sorry?" I thought I'd finally get an answer. To what? To this. Her lips curved. Her lashes fluttered. "Ethan," she whispered, "I'm gorgeous. You really mean to tell me? You're not the least bit tempted?" Here we go again. Look, I knew I wasn't in love with Bonnie, not yet, anyway. It was too soon for that. But let's be honest, she's beautiful, smart, confident, and she flirts like it's a competitive sport. With someone like her leaning in that close, whispering in my ear, any guy would crack. Including me. Panic hit me like a truck. My entire body tensed up. I felt like a middle schooler about to confess to his crush at prom. I pulled back in a hurry, stumbling over my words. I'm home. This is me. My building. Right here. So, good night. Then I spun around and bolted for the door like it was life or death. Behind me, Bonnie burst into laughter. "Ethan, you're way too cute. The elevator couldn't come fast enough." I stood inside, cheeks burning, heart racing, mentally berating myself. "Seriously, Ethan? You're a grown man. Have you never seen a beautiful woman before? Never been flirted with? Relax. It's just a woman. Telling you she likes you. You're not 12. I gave my face a few light smacks, trying to shake off the nerves. Straightened my shoulders. Took a breath. And then turned the corner, only to nearly jump out of my skin. Standing right in front of my apartment door was Marilyn. For the first time in over a month. "Looks like you've been having a great time lately," she said coldly, taking a step forward. The sharp click of her heels on the hallway floor echoed like gunshots in the silence. She looked stunning, yes, but also, dangerous. Like a storm in designer heels. Instinctively, I took a step back. Because this Marilyn? She was different. And she was mad. But my hesitation seemed to light a fuse. She lunged forward suddenly and threw herself into my arms, gripping me tight. "Ethan, hold me, kiss me," she cried, breathless. "I missed you so much." And before I could say a word, before I could even blink, her lips were on mine. Forceful. Desperate. Uninvited. I froze. Because this wasn't about love. It was about control. Her lips pressed hard against mine, the bitter edge of alcohol clinging between us. My stomach dropped. I pushed her off me in a rush, breath catching as I wiped my mouth. "Marilyn, what the hell are you doing?" She stumbled back a few steps, leaning against the hallway wall, eyes glassy and unfocused. Drunk, clearly. But not nearly drunk enough to blur her intent. Her gaze held mine, wounded and heavy. "You're really with her now?" I frowned, jaw tight. I opened my mouth to speak, but she didn't let me. "Break up with her," she said, almost like a command. "Come back to me. We'll start over." Her posture wilted then, like something inside her collapsed. The bravado drained from her shoulders, and her voice softened into something fragile, almost defeated. "You win, Ethan. You really win this time." "I can't do it," she whispered. "I thought I could. That day you came to get your things. I thought once you left, I'd feel fine. I thought I wouldn't care. But it's been over a month, and I can't get you out of my head. Everything feels off. Everything's wrong." Her voice cracked a little. "The idea of you and Bonnie together, it drives me insane. I wanted to storm across the city, find you, drag you back by force." She looked at me, desperate now. "I miss you, Ethan. I miss us." But all I could feel was a quiet ache. Not the ache of longing. The ache of realization. Any one of those words, if she had said them on any day during the past 4 years, I would have been a wreck. Hopeless. Helpless. Head over heels. If Marilyn had shown even half this vulnerability just a month earlier, she wouldn't have needed to beg. I would have given her my heart before she could finish a sentence. But now? Now, it was too late. Way too late. I shook my head gently, stepped aside, and nudged her out of my path as I turned toward the door. Sorry, I said quietly. But what does any of this have to do with me? You've got Callum. Go live that life. Stop wasting time on things that are already over. My fingerprint unlocked the door with a soft beep. The latch clicked. I started to step inside. And then. Fine. I broke up with him, okay? There. Happy? Her voice shot out like a flare behind me. I stopped, eyes wide. Did I just hear that? Happy? Like this was some kind of deal I was forcing on her? Like I had asked for any of it? If I'd ever had the power to make Marilyn do anything she didn't want to do, maybe I wouldn't have been the guy left humiliated and shoved aside with a check and a half-hearted goodbye. She took a few shaky steps forward, but didn't close the gap between us. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was something deeper. But her voice cracked, for once not cold, not polished, just confused. These past few weeks, I kept trying to convince myself it was Callum, she murmured. That he was the one I loved. I told myself I should love him. That I did. But something always felt wrong. Off. Even when he tried to hold me, I couldn't. I couldn't let him. I stepped one foot inside my apartment. The quiet swallowed me. And somehow, I felt calm. Centered. Marilyn, I said without turning back, it doesn't matter. Who you love or don't love, it's got nothing to do with me anymore. I don't care. I paused. Then added, quietly but firmly. As long as it's not me, we're good. Her voice shot up behind me, sharp and panicked. Then tell me, she demanded. Tell me what I have to do to get you back. She sounded like a child denied a treat, furious, entitled, undone. My hand tightened around the doorknob. I didn't look back. Call the cops, I said flatly. Then shut the door behind me. I didn't think it would be me calling the cops. Not because of Marilyn. Because of my restaurant. We had an incident. Actually, more than an incident, we had a full-blown food poisoning outbreak. Over a dozen customers got sick after eating at my place. Some ended up in the hospital. Then came the anonymous report. Someone had filed a formal complaint against us, claiming major food safety violations. Word spread fast. Too fast. And right on its heels, another blow hit. A post started making the rounds online. Long detailed. Nasty. It painted me as some shameless nobody who schemed his way into Marilyn's life while Callum was abroad, pursuing his dreams. Said I took advantage of her loneliness, used cheap tricks to worm my way in, and now I was riding the sympathy wave after getting dumped. It was all twisted. Exaggerated. Some parts were downright lies. But none of that mattered once the mob got a hold of it. The internet turned on me. People who had shipped me and Bonnie just days ago were now frothing in the comments. Accusing me of being a manipulative grifter, a social climber, a danger to women and good food alike. But here's the thing. In a sea of bad news, one tiny piece of irony floated to the top. I got food poisoning too. Yeah. Me. The chef. No home, no backup kitchen. I'd been living off the same restaurant meals as everyone else. So when the bad batch hit, I went down with the ship. And you know what? That stupid, painful coincidence may have saved me. The hate started to fizzle. Slowly. Okay, this is actually making me believe the food poisoning was accidental. Fine. Your restaurant gets a pass, but your character's still questionable. Wit. Is it true he's at the same hospital as Bonnie? OMG. Is she his doctor? Are we in a drama right now? Yes. She is. And as fate would have it, the person assigned to treat me? None other than Dr. Bonnie Winthrop herself. Bonnie stood at my bedside in her white coat, adjusting the foredrip with an unreadable expression. Gone was the usual warmth in her eyes, the playful smile I'd grown used to. She looked professional. Detached. Almost cold. It threw me off more than I cared to admit. Curled up under the blanket like a scolded kid, I cleared my throat and asked quietly, Bonnie, is it serious? Her eyes didn't even flicker. Not serious, she said evenly. You'll be fine after a few days of rest. Then, why the scary face? I ventured. Because it is serious, she replied, scribbling something onto the patient chart before tucking it neatly back in its holder. Someone tried to hurt you. That matters. She turned to leave, calm and composed. Also, she added without looking back, no sweets for the next 2 days. What? I blinked, thrown by the sudden shift in topic. Okay. Someone's in trouble, a voice chimed in beside me. I turned to see the officer sitting by my bed, young, broad-shouldered, with a smug grin like he'd just heard the juiciest gossip in the city. He was taking notes for the incident report, but apparently found plenty of time to offer commentary. Why do you say that? I asked, confused. The officer smirked and gave a dramatic shake of his head. Because whoever did this? Bonnie'll dig them up even if they're already cremated. Seriously, man, out of all these people, they have to bully the man that Bonnie likes. This is not only stupid, it's suicidal. She didn't take over the Winthrop Empire, sure. But she was raised by it. The education's still there. A chill trickled through the foreline and spread to my chest. Sweet, sunny, soft-spoken Bonnie was capable of that kind of wrath? I swallowed hard, suddenly very aware of the cold drip running into my veins. Maybe being in the hospital wasn't the worst part of this week after all. Turns out, she really could. Despite someone already stepping forward to take the blame for the food poisoning, the police didn't stop digging. They kept asking questions. Kept connecting dots. And eventually, they uncovered the real story, and dragged Callum into the spotlight. Because the night Marilyn showed up at my apartment, drunk and desperate, begging me to take her back? She'd gone home afterward and spent the whole night sobbing his name. Saying she wanted to break up. That she wanted me back. Apparently, that didn't sit well with Callum. So he did what narcissists do when they lose control. He lashed out. Tried to erase me from the equation entirely. And now? With the police officially linking him to the anonymous tip and attempted character assassination, his reputation went up in flames. He wasn't just exposed, he was torched. The internet didn't miss a beat. Within hours, the truth about everything came out. Wait, so Callum never even accepted Marilyn's feelings in the first place? He dipped, left her heartbroken, then got mad when someone else stepped up. Bro, Ethan was out here loving this girl for 4 years, and you just showed up and snatched her back like it was a refund request? No, I'm pissed. Marilyn must be blind. I work for a wedding planning agency. The day Callum came back, Ethan had decorated a whole damn villa. He was going to propose. That last comment? It exploded. People started tagging Marilyn left and right, sarcasm turned up to max volume. You passed on a man who wanted to marry you. Bold move. You let go of someone who adored you, and for what? Just be honest, Marilyn. You regret it, don't you? And then. The unthinkable. She replied. Yes. I regret it deeply. I'm working on fixing things. I'm going to win him back. I was sitting in my hospital bed eating an apple when Bonnie saw it. She glanced at her phone, then slowly turned her head to look at me. I paused, mid-bite, thrown by the intensity of her stare. What? I asked, half suspecting the apple was now contraband. Is this not allowed? Bonnie shook her head slowly, her expression unreadable. Her voice was low, a little flat. It's allowed. Okay. I blinked, unsure. Took another cautious bite. Then she spoke again. If. I choked. Immediately slapped a hand over my throat. What if? Nothing, she said quickly, her voice still soft. I was just thinking. If you're ever stupid enough to go back to her, I'll let my dog rip your face off. I stared at her. Bonnie didn't flinch. That night, I finally understood what Bonnie had meant. Because Marilyn showed up. At the hospital. Dressed to perfection, like she was walking onto the set of a romantic drama. Hair flawless. Eyes bright. Lipstick a little too red for a casual visit. Ethan, she said, breathless with emotion. I know everything. I blinked. Know what? I didn't even get the chance to brace myself. Before I could process anything, she pulled a small red velvet box from her coat pocket. I froze. My body moved faster than my brain. Don't open that, I blurted out instinctively. Her hand stopped midair. She looked up at me, eyes immediately welling with tears. A shaky breath escaped her lips. "Why?" she whispered. "I know about the proposal, Ethan. I know you were going to ask me to marry you that day." Her voice cracked, half disbelief, half desperation. "We were supposed to get married. We were meant to be. I would say yes now." She stepped closer, holding the box like it was a symbol of fate itself. "You used to love me so much," she said, voice trembling. "You were always so good to me. That can't just disappear." "Not really." Her gaze searched mine, pleading. "I regret everything, Ethan. Breaking up with you, it was a mistake. I've ended things with Callum. I'm not confused anymore. I'm not torn. I choose you." She took another step toward the bed. "Come back to me," she said softly. "Let's start over. Let's get it right this time." The room went still. But inside me, something had already shifted. Because the man who would have once cried hearing those words didn't exist anymore. "No." I said it quietly. Calmly. But the weight behind that word, it landed like a hammer. Marilyn froze as I reached forward and gently took the velvet ring box from her hand. It was lighter than I remembered. Or maybe I'd just stopped carrying the weight it used to hold. I rolled it slowly between my palms, like a piece of stone I'd once carved my heart into. "Yes," I said softly. "You're right. I was going to propose that day." I looked her in the eye. "But you missed it, Marilyn." Her eyes dimmed instantly, the glow in them flickering like a candle caught in the wind. She shook her head, stubbornness rising in her voice. "No. You love me, Ethan. You've loved me for years. That doesn't just disappear. Not like this. We didn't miss our chance. We're just delayed. We can still fix this." She stared at me with such conviction, such desperate hope, that for a second, even I felt it. That pull. That ache of shared history, old love, unfinished things. For a second. Because underneath it all, I saw something else too. That sharp edge in her gaze. That quiet warning in her tone. This time, she wasn't letting go. This time, if I said no, it wasn't going to end with her walking away. I pressed my lips together, unsure how to respond. But then. A flicker at the corner of my eye. A shadow outside the hospital room door. One tall silhouette. One smaller, four-legged one. Bonnie. And Cola. They hadn't come in. But they'd heard enough. I turned back to Marilyn with a small smile, my decision already made. "Okay," I said. "I'll give you a chance." Her eyes lit up. And in that moment, before she could say another word, I wound my arm back and tossed the ring box out the open window. It sailed cleanly through the night air, disappearing into the darkness below. Marilyn gasped, mouth parting in disbelief. "If you find that ring," I said softly, "I'll start over with you." She stared at me, stunned. But her expression quickly shifted, shock fading into fierce determination. She nodded once, slowly. "Fine," she said, eyes blazing. "I'll find it." The day I was discharged, Bonnie showed up with Cola trotting proudly by her side like a little furry bodyguard. I was standing by the hospital window, staring down at the courtyard garden where Marilyn was pacing slowly, eyes on the ground, turning over leaves, stones, anything that could hide a glint of silver. She'd found the ring box days ago. But the ring itself? Still missing. No one knew if it had been lost, or picked up by someone else. Behind me, a quiet voice spoke, sharp with something more than curiosity. "If she actually finds it, are you really planning to get back together with her?" I turned to see Bonnie standing beside me, her arms crossed, expression dark enough to cloud the whole hospital floor. Cola sat at her feet, chest puffed out, like he was ready to launch into a full-blown attack if I even thought about saying yes. I chuckled. "Of course," I said casually. Bonnie's face dropped. I grinned, reached into my jacket pocket, and pulled out a silver men's ring, the one that had been in the box. "But only," I said, "if she actually finds this." Bonnie blinked. I let the ring twirl between my fingers. Marilyn wanted a second chance? Fine. She could chase it the way I once chased her. With blind hope and empty hands, not knowing that the thing she wanted most had already slipped through her fingers. Let her feel what it was like to almost touch the future, only to realize it was gone. She'd thrown away everything I gave her. Not just the ring. Not just the proposal. Me. And now that she was ready to remember what I meant to her, well, I was ready to forget. Bonnie shook her head, but she couldn't suppress the smile on her face. Mr. Ethan is quite ruthless. It's bad, but I like it. She straightened up, head tilted, voice softer now. So? Do I get an answer yet? About us? She asked. Do we keep dating, or take this somewhere more interesting? I glanced at her, then crouched down beside Cola, ruffling his ears with a smirk. What do you think, buddy? Cola lifted his head, gave one loud, decisive bark. I looked up at Bonnie, grinning. There's your answer.